One of the deepest and least discussed revelations in the entire Bible remains hidden from the eyes of most believers. Scattered across the sacred text are subtle and enigmatic references to beings who existed long before Adam ever drew his first breath, beings who witnessed the birth of the stars, heard the primordial echo that shaped the seas, and watched as the first mountains rose from the depths of creation. Who were these ancient beings? Why are they almost never mentioned in modern sermons? And what happened to those who rejoiced before the Creator as He established the foundations of the earth? If you are seeking answers that may completely change the way you see Scripture, keep watching, because we are about to enter a rarely explored territory, one filled with profound revelation. Our journey begins in the book of Job, one of the oldest and most mysterious texts in the Bible. In Job chapter 38, God confronts Job's limited understanding of creation and asks a striking question. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? These words reveal an extraordinary truth that is often overlooked. Before mankind existed, there were already beings called the sons of God. They were not created after Adam. They were present at the very moment the universe came into existence. And they did not merely observe creation in silence. They rejoiced. They celebrated as God separated the waters, raised the continents, and brought order out of primordial chaos. The Bible does not describe their appearance in detail, but it leaves no doubt about their existence or their position. These beings had access to the heavenly throne. They stood in the presence of the Creator and witnessed each stage of creation like a divine assembly watching reality itself being formed. This brief passage opens a door to a reality far greater than what is usually taught. Many people believe that Genesis represents the absolute beginning of everything. Yet God's words to Job suggest a much broader cosmic context, one in which a conscious spiritual order already existed before humanity appeared. Ancient Hebrew tradition acknowledged the existence of these beings. But over the centuries, this part of the narrative was softened, ignored, or pushed into the background. Why do so many scholars avoid exploring this subject more deeply? Perhaps because it expands our understanding of creation in ways that challenge comfortable interpretations and reveal spiritual dimensions far beyond human comprehension. The Bible hints at a pre-existing heavenly hierarchy, an organized spiritual society operating since the earliest moments of cosmic history. And this raises unsettling questions. If the sons of God existed before Adam, what was their purpose? What role did they play in the divine plan? And why do their appearances in Scripture feel fragmented, as if we are only allowed to see glimpses of a much larger story? The deeper we examine these passages, the more it seems that certain details were intentionally left in the shadows, not erased but veiled, perhaps because humanity was not yet ready to fully understand them. And this mystery deepens when we turn to the book of Genesis. In Genesis chapter 6, we encounter one of the most controversial passages in the entire Bible. It states that when humanity began to multiply on the earth, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves from among them. This passage reveals something shocking. The sons of God did not exist only in the heavens. At some point, they interacted directly with the physical world. They observed humanity, desired human women, and crossed a boundary that was never meant to be crossed. This immediately raises a critical question. Were these beings purely spiritual, or did they possess the ability to manifest physically within the material world? Scripture does not answer this directly, but the implications are impossible to ignore. Returning once again to the book of Job, we find another revealing scene. Job chapter 1 describes a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. This detail is deeply unsettling. It suggests that Satan, though already in rebellion, still held a recognized position within this heavenly assembly. At that moment, he was still counted among the sons of God. This single verse radically reshapes our understanding of the spiritual realm. It reveals a structured divine council, a celestial court where beings of immense authority gather before God himself. Psalm 89 reinforces this idea by asking, "For who in the heavens can be compared to the Lord? Who among the sons of the mighty can be likened to the Lord?" In the original Hebrew, the phrase sons of the mighty is the same expression used for the sons of God. This confirms that these beings were not ordinary angels. They belong to a higher order within the heavenly hierarchy. The Bible is careful with its language. It does not simply call them angels. It calls them sons of God, a title that suggests proximity, authority, and a unique relationship with the Creator that goes beyond that of ordinary messengers. This distinction appears again in the book of Daniel. When King Nebuchadnezzar looks into fiery furnace, he declares that the fourth figure walking among the flames looks like a son of the gods. The original wording points to a being of the same order as the sons of God, not merely an angelic servant. Taken together, these passages form a clear pattern. The sons of God appear at critical moments in Scripture. They act as witnesses, rulers, and participants in the divine order. They existed before humanity, remained active afterward, and held positions of extraordinary authority within the spiritual realm. But who exactly were they? Across history, theologians and scholars have proposed different interpretations. One view suggests that they were angelic beings created long before humanity, endowed with free will and authority, some of whom later rebelled. Another theory proposes that they were pre-existing human souls who existed in God's presence before receiving physical bodies. A third interpretation suggests the existence of a primordial world that existed before Adam, destroyed in a cosmic judgment, with the sons of God being remnants of that ancient order. Ancient texts like the Book of Enoch, though not considered canonical by many traditions, expand on this idea by describing the Watchers, a group of beings who descended to earth, taught forbidden knowledge to humanity, and produced in the film giants mentioned in Genesis. Despite their differences, all these interpretations agree on one point. The sons of God were real, powerful beings whose existence challenges simplistic administrative. Psalm 82 reveals a striking scene in which God stands in the divine assembly and judges among the gods. The term used here does not refer to idols, but to powerful spiritual beings entrusted with authority. This passage exposes the existence of a heavenly council responsible for governing aspects of creation. This idea is reinforced in 1 Kings chapter 22, where the prophet Micaiah describes the Lord seated on his throne, surrounded by the hosts of heaven, deliberating on how judgment would come upon a human king. These beings were not passive observers. They actively participated in divine governance and decision-making. Within this context, we encounter the fall of the Supreme being described in Ezekiel chapter 28, a magnificent cherub adorned with wisdom and splendor who once walked in Eden. Many identify this figure as Lucifer before his rebellion. His fall, echoed in Isaiah 14 and symbolized in Revelation, represents a devastating rupture within the heavenly order. With the fall of Lucifer and those who followed him, a void was created in the administration of creation. It is possible that humanity was created to fill that void. Genesis declares that mankind was given dominion over the earth, made a little lower than the heavenly beings, yet crowned with authority and responsibility. This transfer of authority helps explain Satan's resentment toward humanity. He witnessed dominion once held by celestial beings being entrusted to creatures formed from dust. This resentment fueled his desire to corrupt humanity and undermine God's plan from beginning. Even after humanity's fall, the influence of these beings did not disappear. In the book of Daniel, we learn of spiritual princes associated with nations, resisting God's messengers until archangels like Michael intervene. The Apostle Paul confirms this reality, stating that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in the heavenly realms. These terms describe a structured hierarchy of spiritual authorities still operating behind the scenes of human history. Humanity now stands at the center of this cosmic conflict, created to govern the physical world while surrounded by unseen forces. Jesus came as the last Adam to restore what the first Adam lost. Through him, humanity's original authority is reclaimed. And Scripture makes a staggering promise. The redeemed will reign with Christ and even judge angels. Seen this way, the Bible is not merely the story of human salvation, but the record of a cosmic struggle that began before the foundation of the world. And perhaps what we have explored is only the surface. Greater revelations still remain hidden, waiting for the moment when all things will finally be revealed. May God bless you. See you soon.